All right. Happy Wednesday, Elements family. This is the day 3 of our top side control basics class movements. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the air position of scarfold and the fire attacks to get your opponent to do what you want them to do. Okay, so we're going to start with the fire attacks, then move on to the air, and then we're going to talk about some submissions from Judo Side Control that kind of depends on how your opponent reacts, but it's also a good place to maybe chill out for a minute while you're trying to readjust yourself. Okay, so here we go. Sure, get a good view here. Okay, so we got Bob here, and when you're in side control, when you're in top side control, remember one of the things that your opponent tends to do is put this foot up. So so you don't want to lay flat because then it's real easy to mount. Basically, you're saying, mount me and then, attack me or whatever. You get, so most people will at least sit like with their knees up like this, right? And then, like I said, in an ideal world, you're doing something like this. And again, the reason is you're taking space out of your opponent's area. Okay, so like if I'm here and I'm down in traditional side control like so, and he brings his foot up, see where his knee goes up against my hip. So now if I try to get this leg through, I can't. So I have to deal with this before I can mount. All right, so there are a couple options that you have from here. If your opponent's here, one of my favorites is to go to the reverse side control, and then from there start attacking the feet. All right, and there are two things you can do here to attack the feet, and both of them will cause your opponent to straighten his legs out, and then you can potentially come to mount. Okay, so remember, so we're here. This is where we're at. We're blocking. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this arm, go to reverse side control, so that goes up to the head, like so. I'm going to sort of come down, and I'm going to pop here next to the outside hip. All right, so now I'm here on top of their chest. And even if they try to frame in some way, it's not good for them. All right, this is one of my favorite positions to be in because it helps control. And remember, I can control the hips with my presses and my blocks. All right. But if you want to mount your opponent from here, it's actually real easy. So you'll notice the foot points this direction. All right, so what you can do is you reach for the foot and you can get under the foot like this, depending on where their foot is, or you can even just pull on their foot like this. And when you pull on their foot, they think you're going to go for something, and you might. There is some semblance of a toe hold here. You can get this foot here like this and get this arm inside here. And then there's, some semblance of a toe hold there, but it's really not anything. It's really just, they don't know if it's anything because this isn't usually a position that someone will attack the feet. All right. But this is something that you can do. So you can like grab the foot. You can even do, you can even try for this one. This one's a good one. So you notice how their knees bent like this. So if you grab their foot and push down with your forearm like this and start to torque, and then they're gonna reach with their hand here like this to try to stop you because they feel that torque and they don't know what's going to happen, which probably isn't anything, let's be honest. And then when they straighten their leg out, because that's the easiest way, is you straighten this leg out here and then and then kick that leg down because this knee's in the way, right? You can't go over the knee, you got to go down. And when they do that, then I can slide up to mount. All right, and then we'll have our mount attacks later on. But essentially what I've done is I've attacked that foot in nothing more than an effort to get them to put it down. Because maybe they're real tight in here. Maybe this hand's like, maybe they're praying. People do this to defend themselves, keep themselves from getting arm locked. They don't know what to do. So they pray like this, and it also keeps from getting choked. And so they're waiting for you to like mount them, you know? And so their foot could be up here, like kind of like on the knee. It's usually where I put it. So I'll try to get the flat of my foot. Bob's being real insolent right now. But I'll try to get the flat of my foot like here on the knee. And even if I'm here, I can still reach and grab this foot with this outside hand and pull it in and try to get this. And if I get this arm inside and keep my head low so I don't get cross-faced, I could maybe finish this. If I get this hand on this heel and I twist like this, it's possible to finish, because you can see how far, if I keep this arm inside here like this and get that knee there, I should be able to just wrench on that foot with mine, because it's foot against, you know, and so they're going to bring this foot in. They're going to try to fight that feet situation. And this is also a good position to use against somebody who's really good at turning in, really good at like utilizing the space to move in, right? So, you know, because I have trouble sitting up, staying up, keeping the pressure with my attachments here, and this may be you. So if you can keep good pressure, keeping your knee up against the hip, do it, right? But me, because I can't get down that low, because my hips don't quite open up that wide, because I have a belly and I can't quite get the pressure back that I need, that's why I do this. It's called a pancake. It's not exactly the pancake, but it is like that. It's just me kind of, you notice I'm on my hip right now. I'm not on my knee, I'm on my hip. And being on my hip allows me to lay my weight on my opponent. And if he tries to push me, I can use my feet. I can switch my feet to go wherever. So ideally, like I said, if we're here and here, we're still up here. But that's if you got good pressure kind of back in this area and are blocking this, right? I don't like that because I feel like I'm farther over, and this may be your experience with it. But if you can stay low and back, if you can stay back more, like on your own back, like here, then you're gonna put more pressure over their chest, which is exactly what you want for side control. All right, so like usually, like I said, when I get into this, I'm usually going right to reverse side control, and then this hip kind of comes down. And if they make the frame under the hip, then I will probably go to judo side control. But generally speaking, like I said, side control is pretty fluid. There's traditional and, you know, all the other ones we've learned so far. But in any case, grabbing this foot. So I'm not like, coming underneath is hard. In fact, if you come underneath, then grab your arm in here, and there's potential for triangle from the bottom. So we don't want to give them that opportunity. What we do want is we want that foot. So if I'm here, like I said, if I'm here and I get this foot even just a little bit this way, they're going to start freaking out because they don't know what to do. So they're using their hands or using their feet and everything like that. When they do, that's when you attack something else. So if I go for this, they reach down, Kimura, it's over, right? So that's what we do. All right, now the other thing you can do if they're just playing, you know, knees, and let's say they're just being a pain and you don't want to go to mount. Like I said, I'm not a mounting person, but I can do mount if I've tried everything else. And so one of Frank Mir's favorite submissions is also a reverse toe hold, like that one I just showed. But what he's going to do, what you're going to do in that situation is you're going to come low down here like this, kind of like a twister side control, but you're not on your hip. You're still giving pressure. And you're actually going to grab their foot, this foot here, on the inside of their foot. You're going to bring this foot up here like this. You see how my elbow fits nicely behind their knee? That's the positioning I want. If I'm out here, this isn't going to work. So I got to get in here like this, and pull this foot in, and then I can, you know, this is not the way the foot bends. All right, so this works real well when your opponent's trying to be defensive. Even if he's got his foot up here like this actually works real well too for this, because maybe even they're really good and they're floating their foot over here and their knee is You know, some people do this. Some people float their foot instead of supporting, right? So they might put it here and they might just have it floating. And in that case, if you try to grab the foot, they just, you know, slide down. They still can keep their knee. Even here, they can keep their knee there. So, so when I go for this, when they're here, or like I said, when they're here, and I want them to try to make a mistake upper body wise, I just reach for the instep of the foot like this, keeping that elbow down, and I pull like this, and then to finish it, I got to go both hands and twist this way. Okay, but if you grab for this, most people's reaction will be instantly to kick out, and that's okay. It's just another sort of reaction based on a submission that you may or may not attempt or do. Okay. All right. So that's one of the fire techniques. One of the, hey, I'm gonna hurt you, but not really. And now you're gonna do something I want you to do. So now we're gonna talk about judo side control. Now remember, there is a difference between scarf hold, which is I just have the head, to judo side, which is I still have this underhook. All right. This is a very powerful transition and a very powerful position to get into if you can achieve it. Okay. And it's actually not that difficult to get to, but once you're there, getting things in the right position is the important part. Okay. So if I'm underhook the side, I'm here, I've gable gripped, I'm pressuring, he creates this frame. All right. I don't want him to have this frame. He's got his arm inside. I don't want him to have his arm inside. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to keep this arm underhooked so he can't come up. I'm going to try to keep it strong. All right. Just going to hold on to this like this. And I'm going to reach back and I'm going to grab that sleeve. All right. Now, I'm not going to step back. All right. A lot of people will step back in this position. Try to do this. I'm actually going to sit through. All right. There's a difference. And I'll show you. This is sitting back. So I've got this hand. I'm here. And I go. All right. Look how much space I've created by sitting back. All right. I'm on his belly button now. And now he can totally frame me with his arms. And I don't want that. Even if I'm holding on here, he can still frame with his arms. So I want to sit through is what I want to do. Okay. And what that looks like is like this. So I'm here. My knee's here. I'm going to grab a hold of this. And then I'm going to use my foot here to make a space that my bottom knee can go through. And then now, see how much space I've taken away from this person, from this opponent of mine? I'm really big on top of this Bob right here. I pull up on this here like this, okay? And this is your judo side control. And the reason why I want this is see how his, see I've got his elbow. In this case, you want the elbow, try to get it underneath your leg. You don't need the shoulder underneath your leg, just the elbow. If you get the, I mean, you can't really get the shoulder if you're doing things right, because then it pops up off of the mat. You really just want the elbow. So if the elbow is here and they're real strong, sometimes you can't pull this. So this would be one of those situations where, again, it's not about arm strength, all right? It's about using your body against your opponent, all right? Body versus arm doesn't, let me put it like this way. In anatomy, if you were to hold a heavy weight, you could hold a heavy weight that you could never lift for a period of time, all right? And let me give you an example. So let's say you're gonna do a bench press, right? A bench press is just you lay flat on your back, put the bar on your hands, and you push it up, and you bring it back down, and you know that's a bench press, right? Hopefully you know what a bench press is. So let's say you load up more weight than you can handle. Let's say you bench press 200 and you put on 350, right? You know you're not going to rep 350, but you can lift it up off of the rack. You might need a little help, but once you get it up, once you get it off, you can hold it there. That's because your isometric muscles are stronger than your flexing, your concentric muscles, okay? There's two processes to this, to your muscles. There's the eccentric and concentric, all right? And so concentric is when we flex. So if I was here and my arm is stretched out and I tried to pull this with my arm, his shoulder tucked like this on the mat, it's never going to happen. All right, it's never going to happen. But if when I transition into this position, let me take that step back like this. All right, but if when I transition into this position, if I've got a hold of his sleeve and I tuck my elbow, now my body is locked. My arm is locked to the side of my body. And when I step through, so I create my hole to step through, as I'm stepping through, my body is pulling his arm. My arm's not pulling his arm, my body's pulling his arm. And this is a common concept throughout most of jiu-jitsu, all right? You're going to run into this in guard, especially. Like if you want to pull somebody down into your guard, you don't reach up and grab the lapel and try to pull them down. That's futile, all right? Unless they're tiny and you're like real strong. If you're going against somebody who's the same size as you, you're never going to pull them down with one hand. But if you grab their lapel, sit up, get your arm in tight, then just go backwards, the weight of your body is going to pull them down. There's nothing they can do about it, right? I mean, you could have a real strong back and be able to hold somebody up. But if I flex my legs or even create a post to push off of when I do this, you'll come down. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So it's a difference between trying to pull with the arm, which arms can be strong, but they're nothing compared to the weight or even the flexion of the body itself. Okay, doesn't matter what body type you have. That is a principle throughout jiu-jitsu. If you were here for some of the guard sweeps, one of them, the very first one is the scissor sweep. And on the scissor sweep, it's difficult to scissor sweep somebody if they're sitting back from you. So you need to sit up, take that slack away, and then go back. And once you go back, they fold over your legs so that you can scissor sweep them. Otherwise, scissor sweeping is really hard. All right. But one more time with this. Okay. This is a transition into judo side. And what this does is this returns the arm back to the unframed position. All right. It also gives you that elbow that is useful for potential submissions that we'll go through just after I show the scan. Okay. So I'm here. I'm doing a traditional side control position, right? He puts his frame in my hip, and I'm like, no. So I'm gonna grab the sleeve like this, and I'm gonna tuck it, okay? Because if he's good, he's gonna keep his elbow down. All right, so I'm gonna keep my elbow down. He's gonna keep his elbow down. I'm going to make a space for my leg to come through, and when I do, then I lean back. And now the lean back, I don't have to pull back, I just lean back and his elbow comes up underneath. All right, so we're here, and this works real well when you're gonna punch somebody. Like if you were gonna do any sort of like fighting, like MMA, or even if you just wanted to maintain a dominant position on your opponent, this is one of the strongest positions you can be in, gi or no gi. And if it was no gi, it'd be a little different because you're not trying to pull at the sleeve, you're actually pulling at the tricep. So if the guy is here and you grab and you reach underneath the tricep, again, you go tricep, lock, create the space, step through, pull the arm through. Now you got this control versus this control. This is obviously a gi technique, stronger than grabbing the tricep, because even if you've got the tricep, it doesn't guarantee that their arm's going to come up. Sometimes you might not even get the tricep because people leave their tricep flat on the ground, so you can't even like get underneath it. That's true of some people. That's one of the downfalls of being a bigger guy. Actually, is like when I got my arm flat on the ground, there's actually a hook space right behind my elbow because my tricep lifts my arm up, so there's space actually right behind my elbow. So a lot of people can just come down, find that space, and go and just wedge right up into my arm. Don't even need to go that far. Just right under this little part of the tricep right here. Boom. And then when they turn and lift it up, my arm comes up. So that happens to me a lot in no-gi if I don't put a lot of pressure, if I'm not able to roll over on my arm. Okay. See how my arm's sort of round across the top? You can kind of see it when I tighten here. So the back of my arm sort of rounds. All right. Well, if I can get up onto if you can imagine if I can get up onto my elbow a little bit more, then it'll take that roundness out and put it more towards the back of my arm instead of the front of my arm. So hopefully that makes sense. If not, don't worry about it. So Anyway, so yeah, so if I'm here and I've gotten to this position here and I'm like real deep underneath here and I do this, right? You may have seen this in some MMA fights. So Bob's arms aren't as long as a normal person's arms, so you'll have to bear with me. But just imagine if they were, you know, this much longer maybe. And I take this hand and I'm able to stuff it and get his arm like this. And we're in MMA. This happens a lot more in fights before. Not a lot of people end up here, but you can, especially if you're doing amateur MMA. And this is a, you know, they have no protection. How are they supposed to defend themselves from this? I'm controlling their lower half by sitting on them. I'm controlling this arm just by doing this. I'm controlling this arm just by doing this. Now the other fun thing, so we'll move on to submissions from here because there's just a couple of them that I want to kind of talk about. I'm going to slide me and Bob back so you can see us a little bit better. All right. So one submission you can do if you get this elbow up high is, and again, their arm comes down low. So imagine there's an L shape in the arm like this. All right. If you leave your arm hanging out here, it's real easy for your opponent to push it down and go like this. And then once it's here, then all you have to do is go like that. And there's a Americana or a Kimura from there. It's a shoulder lock using your legs. And I'll be honest, it works better when you have a little more nimbleness in your legs. It's not something as a big guy I'm going to go for. But like if you have longer legs, or I mean, this is, like I said, this is an air technique is how I would look at this. This all requires you to create space. So that's the air part of it. I've actually opened this space and I can take it away if I want to. So once I'm here and I get this shoulder back up, you know, I'm here and I'm here. Once I get the shoulder in here, now I can actually switch back. So you can see this arm's out of the way. So I can pull this arm over, get my knee back up high, and I'm back in side control. So I've created space, and then I took it away. All right, that's what constitutes an air attack. So this works real well, like I said, for people who are nimble, for people who have good flexibility. You may not necessarily be the strongest person in the world. You may not necessarily be the biggest person in the world, but you can maintain control over somebody until you are able to get back into one of your dominant positions. Side control may be it. But mount may be better, or taking the back or something like that, or getting the back or something like that. So it really depends on your style and what you prefer and what you go for, and as it always does. But yeah, so when you have your hand here, okay, the Kimura is one attack. All right, there is actually the possibility of an Americana as well. This one's a little trickier because you, like I said, you have to have more nimble legs and you have to get this a little higher on the tricep. But if you can get the arm down and inside this leg right here, it's real easy to just push down on it and Americana. And if I had a partner who could do that for you, again, his arms are a little stubby to do this, then I'd show you exactly what I'm talking about. But if you want to see it, you can just ask, and we can go over it with, you know, in a moment if you like with somebody in like actual class. But yeah, so you have that there as well. There's even the potential for a kind of a modified armbar. So if you get this here like this, and you just like, and maybe you get their thumb out, so you can control their arm and get their thumb out, and you can actually use your leg to push down, and maybe even, you know, try to lift your hip up a little bit, give that extra pressure. But all this stuff is kind of dependent on how your opponent reacts, you know, and reacting incorrectly is what I'm talking about. So this stuff can easily be fixed just by keeping to a few key things. First of all, don't let me control this, all right? If I'm here like this, like your hand's still here, all right? You still have that, and most people don't know what to do with that. The thing of it is like, if I was in this position and somebody did this to me, the first thing I would do is I'd put my hand flat up against their body like this. Why? Because the minute I try to do something, see how I'm coming over like this? My hand, I'm a fan of the Heisman's escape. All right, it can be a sweep, it can be escape, depending on how they do it. But I'm a fan of the Heisman escape. So if you watched last, maybe, I don't remember if I got that or not, but last week when we were doing bottom side, one of the escapes is called the Heisman escape. And basically, you're going to C-cup your opponent's armpit. So imagine his hand, right? His hand is like this, okay? So when I pull this arm up, his hand goes here, okay? When my hand goes like this, his hand stays in here. So if I try to pull it, I'm pushing his hand against my own arm. I haven't cleared his hand because that's where he put his hand, all right? And when I start to go this way, so if I try to go back to regular side control, it's real easy for him to use that momentum in the moment to sit up onto this arm and push me. Okay, that's the Heisman pass. So when we're in traditional side control like this, okay, he's gonna come up, your hand's gonna be on my jacket right here because it won't be able to get to my armpit. Maybe it will. Maybe you'll be able to get to my armpit and just put your fingers like right here. And your thumb should be right here on the outside, okay? So now, if I try to manipulate your hand's up against my jacket. So I can't do anything with you here except maybe try to roll back into side control, okay? Or one of the other options that I might be able to do is I can step over your head, which is another one you have to watch out for. So if you get your arm, if I get your arm here, one of the other things that you can do as an air response, and this is a submission you can attempt once you get here, is you're going to step over the head, right? And you're going to get here, okay? And again, like I said, if you had more nimble legs, this would be a lot easier. But then you're just going to use this to scoop up the head, like so. And now you have to worry about a triangle choke, okay? Especially if someone has real nimble and flexible hips and get their legs up high without having to give too much of their position away, right? Again, this isn't a position that I tend to go to, again, because it's an air position. But one of the positions I do like is the scarf hold, and I'll be going over that in the next class. But the scarf hold is a more, I'd say more intermediate to advanced position because it requires you to have a certain level of grip and understanding, because if you don't do it right, you can end up in a bad way. So for judo side control, which is this, okay, this, like it can be very pinning. Again, if I go here, pinned, right, and I get this hand, and we could be in stalemate. Like I'm here, I've got you in side control, I score my points. Maybe I just want to stall for a couple minutes, right? What's your opponent going to do, right? And if they do happen to get this hand in front, like this, if they don't grip correctly, so if they grip my collar, right? So they grip my collar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my arm and I'm going to put it here over their shoulder. So I'm just going to come up and over like this, right? And then I grab behind and I come down, boom, wrist lock. Okay. Now let's say they grab, they don't grab, they frame against my face. All right. So you're trying to frame against my face. I like that because what I'm going to do is I'm going to snake this hand underneath like this. And then when I come down, my whole weight coming down on the arm, boom, Americana. And I can finish that one. All right. Let's see. There's a wrist lock too that we learned the other day, but that's from here, and I think you reach underneath, grab the wrist, and then I don't remember. I didn't get a chance to practice it. We kind of went over it so fast, but essentially, when your arm is in here, this is never good. This is never the arm that you want to try to attack with, especially if I've got the underhook. You can try to go real low with it, like down here, and frame me here. This is fine. Trying to keep the hands near the hips because you want to try to get that elbow down. Once you get that elbow down, you can really start framing. So yeah. So I mean, those are the things you have to worry about. And so where should your hands be, right? Where should your hands be? That's the real question. What should be the defense here that you should be thinking about? Well, if I've got this underhook, right, the head is fine. If I have control of the head. Now, the one thing you do have to worry about with the head is that inverted armbar. So if you try to go high like this, it's real easy for me to capture your elbow underneath low like this, and then come over the top like this, and then extend out and invert the arm bar across like that. So you don't want to get up here, all right? You want to stay low. You want to stay low, okay? And unless I give you some room. So if I'm here like this and I just pulled this up and then I'm like, okay, I want to like, I don't know, do something, and I start to lift up, it's the snake. Remember, it's always snake through. Don't go around, because again, if you go around, try to go around my head, I'm going to catch it, and then there's the Americana, okay? So it's always grab around. If I give you the space, snake across my throat. Reach across for my shoulder, or snake across. So snake across, and then come down and use my hip to press off of. Because you'll notice I'm on my elbow here. I'm not on you. Most people are not on you here. They're on your elbow because they're just trying to stay balanced. So that means you could press on me and push yourself out from underneath, just like we've always said. So as you push, you're going to sort of shrimp, and I'm going to be here. Now you should be able to get up on your elbow, this elbow here. Even if I maintain control of this, if you've got me, pressing away, there are things you can do here, because as I move farther and farther away, I'm trying to hold you here. I move farther and farther away. You can use two hands, pop this off, just like you would any other grip. Just pop it off, and then, get up to your elbow, start to slink away some more. Now I'm just stuck on my side. And if I try to roll over, I can't, because your frame is making it difficult for me to roll over, all right? So remember, framing here can be dangerous, especially if you keep the finger inside. You got my shoulder, remember we talked about that last week, that's fine. You can grab up here on my shoulder, and there's not a lot of stuff I can do there. And or like kind of across the mid-chest area, that's another good place to keep a frame. You may not be able to push me back, but I probably can't push into you either. So you can keep framing and just keep pushing yourself out, using your feet. Keep the frame, push yourself out, get back to guard. So that's if I let this arm out. If I don't let this arm out, it's okay, because as long as you are, in stasis like I am. So again, we're up here like this. If I'm in stasis and I just pulled you up here like this, and you got your hand on my jacket, and I try to step through, that's when you're already pushing into my arm, pushing my arm up and over. And if you push my arm up and over, my arm's going to go here like this, and you just use this arm to sit up on. It's the Heisman escape. And if you don't know what that is, you can look into it. So that should be your mindset when you're in Judo Side Control. Scarf hold, like I said, completely different. Judo Side Control, because I have more grips and more things to grab onto, and there are other things you can do from here, but these are the basic things that you want to be aware of. Where do you keep your hands? Try to keep this elbow to the mat if you can. If you can't keep this elbow to the mat, try to get your hand underneath here just to C-cup and frame. This hand, keep it low like I taught you, or if I give you space, snake it through. Don't ever go over the head. Try to go over the head. I'm going to catch your arm. People are going to catch your arm. Now, it doesn't mean everybody knows how to do that, but you should always treat every opponent like they know what they're doing, because they probably do, and they should. So be the best you can be when you're doing these defenses. Okay? All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Tomorrow is last day of top half, and then we're going to start doing knee on belly work. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow.